Hello, hello and welcome. We have a small break with no podcast, but today we're back here with Learn Well by New Wellness Education. I'm Fabrizio, one of the hosts of this podcast. I'm one of the founders of New Wellness Education, and I work in this field since 5 years. I work mostly with no-formal education, but also as a project manager and project coordinator. And today we have a new guest from Spain.
Hi, I am Rocío. I am an occupational therapist. I am working to an association here in Spain, in Jaén, that is a city of Andalusia. I work with people of all ages, adults and children, that have some type of neurological problem.
And I have already a question, as we already shared yesterday in a short preparation. What is the meaning, before to start on what is your experience, why it's called occupational therapist? What is for people that are listening us that don't have the knowledge, the awareness of this topic?
It is called occupational therapy for the part that it is a health science. We usually study this degree at the university, like medicine, physiotherapy, nursing, and it is called also occupation because we rehabilitate by the occupation. I mean, what occupational therapists do is to help people to improve their performance in daily life activities. So we do that through activities that they are interested in.
Interesting.
I mean, when a person is not able to do what it is expected to do, I mean, a 5-year-old child, it is expected to dress by himself, to write his name, to play with a ball. If he can do that, it is because there is some type of problem, physical problem, psychological problem, social problem. So occupational therapists treat all of these things since an holistic view, and we try that this child will be able to do what the other children of his or her age do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
interesting. And I have a first question, it's a peculiar topic, and I believe it's not so well known all around. And so how come that you decided to study and to work in this field? What is your inner decision that drives you to work, to be in this field?
Well, to be honest, when I started to study occupational therapy, I didn't know very well what is it. But I was sure that I was to be some profession of the health. And this one is really human, that you work in a very near and very close way with the people. I thought that I will feel comfortable with this type of work. I think that I was true, because now I am happy while I'm doing it.
Super. And so can you tell us and to our listener a bit of what is the process, the educational process? How did you start? Which university? Which kind of activity did you study? Because you mentioned that you start without knowing this specific thing. So what is the process that you went through in education before to start to work?
Okay, to be an occupational therapist, you need to study 4 years or maybe 5 years in some countries. It depends on the university. At the university, and then usually you specialize in some topic. In my case, I specialize in neurology. I did a master's degree in neurology, and then I also did another one in positive psychology, and then another one in sensory integration, that it is like an international certification. It is like a method or a technique that can only use occupational therapists. And well, I think that this part is really resonated with the education. I can tell you a little more about it.
If you want, for sure.
Sensory integration, it is a method that born in 80s by an occupational therapist, a woman that's called Jean Ayres. What she says was that there weren't 5 senses: hearing, smell, vision, touch, and taste. Instead of 5, she talked about 7, and now we know that in fact they are 8, but I am only talk about 7 because they are like the more important. Apart from the 5 commons, there are 2 more. One is proprioceptive system, and the other one is vestibular system. Vestibular system is the system in charge of balance, is the one that helps us to coordinate the both parts of our body and to get in balance, to involve in activities in a coordinated way. And proprioceptive system is in our muscles and our joints, and it is in charge of graduate the strength that you do in a movement. I mean, sometimes we see children that instead of thoughts, they hit. Maybe they are having problems to graduate the strength because they are not integrating well the information that is going in his nervous system by this system, proprioceptive system. And it is also the system that say us where are the parts of our body. I mean, if I close the eyes, I know perfect that this arm is in this position and I can imitate with the other arm. This system is what is processing this information. So this woman, what she says is that if your proprioceptive system, vestibular system, and touch system, they are not well, they are not receiving information well, modulating it, discriminating, integrating well, you are not going to be able to learn new skill in an appropriate way, or to do a more advanced skill like academic skills or dress by yourself or things like that.
Really interesting. And I have a question, again, connect with what we talked yesterday, is how it was, because it sounds everything like a lot of theory, but how it is to bring this theory into the work. So how it was built, the way that you study and the way that you prepare yourself, if you also follow some more practical, or how it was built up, the university that you follow with experience, how was this part?
Well, I worked with the children in a place, in a room with a lot of funny things, like there are swings and there are a lot of balls, a lot of toys, because we already know that this is the best way to learn, by the movement and by things that you are interested in, that activities that are meaningful for you, that are motivating for you. So, for example, I have a lot of children with handwriting problems. Instead of handwriting, because it is what they already do during 5 hours at the school, we do a lot of plays to improve in these basic skills that they are getting some troubles or getting difficulties. And when these problems of the base improve, the advanced skill of the top of the pyramid also improve. I mean, if a child is having problems at school with his or her handwriting, you are not going to solve them handwriting more, because it is what he or she already do at the school. Maybe he needs to move to be alert and to pay attention to what he is doing, and it's better that he's sitting just by 10 or 15 minutes and then 10 minutes of jumping, of running, of playing something that gets involved him and it's requiring movement of his body, and then write or handwrite, but by a short period of time, because we assume that the children have to be in a table by long periods of time doing boring things, and this is not the best way to to give them learning to prepare his or her nervous system to get new skill. So it is like a different way to learn things, that it is evidence that in some cases is more efficient than the traditional ways.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, what you mentioned before, I always shared, like, education happens only when there is interest from the person in any cases. And also about the different ways I'm working more with education, non formal education. You are a therapist, so it's two different topics, but some bases are similar. Also, we use the approaches when we do training for trainers. We teach to teachers like to use visual, acoustic, and kinesthetic, all three of them, in order to reach as much people as possible, because not everybody like to write, but not everybody like to move, not everybody like to hear, or everybody's different, and using all the approaches together, it's bringing more possibility that the messages transmit to the receiver.
Like society, we don't understand really well nowadays that we live in a neurodiversity, and we are people that are equal in so many things. I mean, all of us want to be loved, all of us want to be valued by the people that are around us, but we have different ways to learn, different ways to process information, different things that we are better or more better at. Understand it and understand that there are not a better way, just different ways to learn. It is really important to help a lot of people or children that society says you have a problem, but maybe he or she don't have a problem. We have a problem because we don't understand that there are other ways to do things.
Nice. What is the word that you said? It's really interesting. It's the first time I hear neurodiversity.
Neurodiversity, yes. It is a concept that try to say that maybe there are no diagnosis or no so much diagnosis like medical word want to put on people. It's just like you are not an autistic person or not autistic, or you don't maybe do. I mean, we try to put people in different boxes, and maybe we are not in different boxes. We are all together. I am better in some skill, but you are better than me in other skill. So I have a disability because I can see, but I can touch a book and can read by touching. So we see very, very clear this in some disabilities, but there are another ones like invisible disabilities, like autism or delays on the developmental or problems in sensory integration that society in general don't understand well. So for these invisible disabilities, I like to use the concept of neurodiversity.
Nice.
It's just that we have different nervous system that process information in different ways. It is not bad or not good. It's just different ways of processing information.
It's really interesting, because I'm thinking like if we call something a problem, also if it's not, the person will think, oh, you have a problem. But it's using this language, inclusive languages, and also working on this field, it's really, really nice.
And it is evidence that by the 6-7 years old, it's like the top of the age that your self-esteem configure, and how you feel at this age is like to mark your self-esteem the rest of your life. I mean, of course you can work on it and you can improve it in the future, but it's like a very important period of the life, and it's really important to be conscious, especially the people like me that work with children, that it's really, really important to treat them well, to make them feel that they are valued, that they are okay, that they can improve things that they are not doing well now, but it's not their problem. Maybe occupational therapists are also specialists in adapt things. I mean, for example, for some children that need to move a lot in classroom, I recommend to sit in classroom in this type of I don't know how to name it.
Yeah, it's kind of a cushion, a mat.
Yes, and you can move a little because you can sit in another way. So for children that is difficult to sit down a lot of time, this is a good adaptation of the environment to let them pay attention to what teacher is saying for a long period of time. Or maybe with children that is not writing very well, we use like different type of things that you put in the pencil and helps them to get it in a correct way, or maybe we put some load. I don't know how to say it.
I don't know what they're called, bulbs. I don't know. Yeah, but it's visible.
Or there are like a lot of different type of pencil to write with the finger if your hand is not prepared to pick the pencil correctly, or maybe you can just paint with the whole hand. We also do that to adapt things. Instead of try the person adapt to the environment, adapt the environment to the person.
Really interesting. I have a question. It's connected with actually also with the material that you're showing now. If a person want to start to get to know a bit more of your topic, or start to organize also, not connect with therapy, but to use in education different approaches, where it's possible to find information, or do you have some books to suggest, or some course that's for a person that is not doesn't want to be a therapist, but want to learn more about all these things, how it's possible to find informations?
Yes, on internet you can search sensory integration by engineers, and there are a lot of information. Okay, I can tell you a specific web, and maybe you can write it or at the end of the video later, because now I can think on the specific website. And about books, they are more technical or more theory. About formation, there are formation about that topic to teachers, to personnel that work on education, like basic certification of it, and like individualized to school topics.
Okay. So it's possible to follow training courses on the topic without going to the degree. This is interesting. I will look for that because it's really interesting. And I have 2 more questions, not to make it like infinite, because I can talk for hours. Yeah.
There are also like an occupational therapy working for different schools. What the occupational therapists do is not to treat directly the children, is to work with the teachers, or to associate the teachers in how to work with children that process information in a different way. In Spain, it's not really recognized, but in other countries like Canada, it's very common to find occupational therapists at the schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense, because exactly what I was thinking, like at the end, who is all the time with children most of the time are the teachers. So if they have some knowledge about these small things about the pens and the cushion, it's really interesting. And I believe it can change a lot of people learning process. And I have another question connected with what you mentioned before about the age of 7. I recently was reading some information. I don't know yet if it's like a valid theory. I don't know. I just discovered it about the epigenetic that is connected with how from 0 to 7, the same age that you mentioned, it's like we are processing, like we are programming ourselves with like programs, putting inside till 0 to 7 is the moment where, like a sponge, we have everything and the personality is already built there. It's this theory is telling that. So maybe something similar to what you mentioned about the age.
Yes, is that it, and it is already evidence-based. So you can find a lot of articles that say that.
Nice. So to support the early age education, I see all around the world there are more and more like institute like working with different methodologies. Like the most famous is the Montessori school, but there are a lot of others, different ways that are putting education in different fields. Last podcast we had a educator. She was working. Now she's working with adults, but she was working with children with drawing, only with drawing, and like using drawing metaphors like battery cells to transform it, to put inside it emotions, and was really nice. And now I have a question more connected with yourself, not with the topic. So what did you learn for yourself by going to this like work in this field?
A lot of things. I learned to relativize problems. It is said that way.
That it's all relative, all it's different, can be seen from different perspective, correct? You mean that?
Like relative problem, like give them less importance. I learned also that how to be more efficient myself. I mean, all of us have a sensorial profile. All of us. For example, for me, I use this discussion also when I'm working at home, and I discover it with the children. But some of the strategies that I apply with them, I apply also by myself with me, because I discovered that maybe you don't have so much problem, but your attention improves if you are sitting on it by a period of time. So I learn a lot of things with them, and there are some times that I don't give the solution to them. It was the process at the other side. They give me the solution, and I pick up the solution and save it, and maybe then in a few months I can use this solution with other boy, other girl. The children are like little teachers to me also.
Nice. Yeah, actually I was asking a question like what you just say about the cushion. It's I see it can be, I don't know if it's already happening in the world, but I see a big potential also in this like not only supporting people who have problems, but also sharing these knowledges with a bigger, with like as many people as possible to make their life more efficient, or the word that you use, like everybody. For example, I discovered that I prefer to learn by listening. I'm auditory, and in the past I was reading, but I was not learning. As soon as I discovered that, I started to watch documentaries, but not to watch, to listen the things and to listen podcasts. And my learning levels, I'm not a genius, but it improved by discovering that I can learn in different ways. So to have these knowledges that are fact-based, there are studies, science behind, to put it also in daily life, in daily education, I believe it's a big, it can be a big plus. Actually, this is why I invited you today, because when we were talking about having a podcast, you mentioned, but you work in therapies, but I said, yeah, but it's a big knowledge that it's worth it to share. And I have another last question. And for our listener, for who maybe is interested in starting to work in this field, what do you suggest? Like, which suggestion you can give to yourself 10 years ago when you were starting, or 5 years ago when you were starting? Suggestion for people who is starting.
Okay, I think that you have to make like a huge effort to be a good occupational therapist. You have to invest a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy. So if you are going to do this huge effort, be sure that it is what you want to do for years in your life. And the best way to discover if it is for you or not is to get in touch to do some practice. If your university don't offer you a practice, search by yourself some type of volunteer. There are a lot of national volunteers for occupational therapists, international volunteers, and also occupational therapy is like a really big word. You can work with children, with people with neurological disease or mental disease. So get in touch with the specific part of the occupational therapy that you would like to work on, to discover if in fact it's what you really want to do or not. And I already did that. Before to study occupational therapy, I was volunteer for 2 years at the hospital here in Jaén with oncological children. And I find that I really want to help them and to know how to help them in a professional way. And then I started to study this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much to share your passion with us, to share also the more technical parts. I personally learned new things. I also hope for our listener was helpful. That's it for today.
Okay.
With Learn Well by New Wellness Education, a podcast by educators for educators in a wider way, to where we teach, share, listen, methodologies, approach to work with education, to work with well-being, to work with people. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Also for me.
And for our listener, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.